Let's see who's here. This is the Likable Leader webinar. I'm trying out some new things. Hello, Danielle, Katrina, Patricia, Sarah, and Susan, and Amanda. I'm so excited to see you here. I am have this nice light, so I look not quite so ancient, but then it glares on my glasses. So first of all, could somebody please let me know how the volume is? I'm trying out a new microphone. And so can somebody say if it's good or not? Yes. Hello, hello. So the volume's good. Oh, right. Thank you. Awesome. Oh my gosh, it's already 12 o'clock. So I am going to start. I value your time more than the last chocolate in the house. And that should tell you a lot. It's funny. My husband is the youngest of 5 kids. And I don't know what happened when he was young, but there must have been some kind of serious punishment because he never finishes off anything. Like he'll leave, like if it's a box of M&Ms, there would be 2 left. But I was the oldest of 4 and I didn't have that problem. I have no problem finishing off things, but I do value your time. And I'm going to just jump right in. I've got some cool slides for you that I made. Let me get to the first one. Oh, I forgot to share the screen. Hang on. Sorry about that. Share. And here we go. That was probably weird. All right, be the likable leader. So the thing about being likable is that it's not something you learn in school, but for some people it's very natural. Like if your parents are very outgoing and friendly, you probably picked it up from them or from other people. You know, the popular people in high school, you know, those are people who are really good at being likable. I was not one of those people. I was the, you know, the annoying girl with braces who was kind of quiet. I wasn't like extremely shy, but kind of quiet, got good grades, and just was probably, I think I had this air of superiority, you know, because getting good grades was so easy for me. And that doesn't win you a lot of friends. I did have some friends, some other geeky friends that were like me, but I found out, you know, that career path in academia where you get rewarded for, you know, doing the work and being introverted doesn't pay very well unless you're like a star. And you know, this whole likability thing has just caught me blindsided about how important it is. And I guess the real, my real learning curve with being likable happened. I worked at the Medical University of South Carolina for 6 years, ending 2 years ago. And I was running Smithsonian Institute from MUSC. And this institution has 13,000 employees, and it's a very, likability is highly valued, highly valued. And I have, you know, some research to share with you, but I knew that I had to be likable because I was running my company at the same time, and I didn't want anybody like getting into my business too much. So I was super likable, high performer, always got the top performance reviews and several raises, and it was good. It was just that my company grew so much that I couldn't do both. So anyway, I see that about half of you on this I know, half of you I don't know very well, so I welcome. I am Laura Camacho. I'm just going to go over briefly so you know that, you know, I didn't just fall off the truck. I have been studying professional development, personal development for a long time, all my life. Back in the 90s, I was a facilitator for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in Spanish in Caracas, Venezuela. I also did 10 years in academia as a professor of communication at East Carolina University and College of Charleston. And I, you know, I was recognized by Forbes coaches last year. And this year, I put on here something new, this Better Up Coaches. And I only bring that up because they contacted me to be on their staff. I'm just kind of in an advisory position. I'm their specialist communication coach, and they're in San Francisco. But they had this training for all the coaches. And the training was a series of 20 videos where you had to assess the problems of these people, but those people, you know, their level of problems were, to me, very basic. And I just want those of you who have worked with me, because I know some of you are on this call, that you guys could coach those people like with your hands tied behind your back and your eyes closed. I was like, you need a coach to tell you, you know, something so basic. So that's my little superiority thing coming through. But anyway, I work with very, very, very smart people. So anyway, introverts. Not everybody that I work with is an introvert, but there's a lot of smart people there. Smithsonian Institute, I founded 10 years ago. It's a terrible name for a company. But as a friend of mine said, it's so bad that it works. And like my sweet spot is it's communication research, it's life coaching principles, it's multilingual, international point of view, woman owned, woman founder, introvert focus. I have private clients, and I have corporate teaching either leader communication or team communication. So let's see, I have something here. Something is flashing. Somebody's in the chat. All right, I will get to you. Let me see if I need to pause the share. Somebody's in the chat. Oh, the volume's good. Okay, hope all is clear. Great lighting, by the way. Thank you. I'm going to have, Amanda, you're going to leave me. Okay, thank you for letting me know, so I won't cry too much. All right, so my promise to you is that if you, and this, Amanda is not going to be able to stay for the whole 45 minutes, but those of you who can, you're going to learn two very low-hanging fruit ways to increase your likability. And I'm going to share some research about why it's so dang important. I really had no idea. And then this is the thing, that a lot of high-performing introverts are very focused. If they're meeting someone or if they're interviewing, we tend to focus on ensuring that we're come across as competent, because that isn't what our mind is like. That's what's really matters is, right, can you do the job? Do you have the skills? Can you excel? And the thing is, that's not what people care about. They want to know how easy you are to work with. And then so you can be easy to work with, but if you don't come across as super friendly, then you get on that list of no's. So, I mean, I know that's happened to me in my early career a ton of times. And also, I want you to know that even though I'm a communication coach, I am still not good at selling. I don't feel like I'm good at all. But the reason I'm able to have my company sustain me is because of my friends, because I've made friends that bring me clients and refer me. And, you know, it's because of my friends that Smithsonian Institute is still alive. All right, so I'm going to go back to my slides. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, Robert's just joining. Well, we are jumping in. Let me go back to the slides. Here we go. Yes, you will be, my promise is that you will be as friendly as Winnie the Pooh. That's my goal. That's a pretty high standard. And this was something, you know, I just did this deep dive into likability like about 3 weeks ago or a month ago. And I found out that, because I mean, again, Robert just joined, my thing has been like, I have always been focused on competence and doing the job well and getting those hard skills and showing that you're competent, but it really, likability is a lot more useful skill than you think. And Oprah, who's interviewed, I don't know, at least 4,000 people, she in an interview said that people, even as diverse as Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Beyonce, but she said those are just 3 examples. She said everybody, after they're brought onto her show, that the more successful they are, the more they're asking her, like, how did I do? You know, that people want to know how they're coming across. And if any of you are familiar with the strengths test, I know that some of you are because I've given it to you, the strengths finder test, there's this quality, this strength called woo, W-O-O. And woo people are like the most likable people on the planet. They just like, it's really important to them to be liked by other people. So they go out and, I mean, they just win people over. That's just the way they operate. And there's such thing as woo envy. People envy those people who have that knack of being so likable. And by the way, I looked in the dictionary because, you know, that's one thing you learn in PhD school is that, oh, you got to define your terms. And the dictionaries give very lame descriptions. It's like, you know, people who are liked, people who are pleasing, but I have some qualities that you'll be able to test. So I want you to go to the chat. I'm going to stop sharing and just tell me, like, what benefit can you see if you were even more likable than you already are? Like for me, it makes my work with my clients go easier and also helps me to get more clients. So that's how it helps me. But I want to know, like, what would be the benefit to you if you could increase your likability or teach others? Because what I'm going to show you, you can use to educate your team, help other people raise their likability factor. Let's see. Better communicators with coworkers, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, it's true that juries do respond better to likable lawyers and do judges. Get more referrals, good. I'm leaning my head so as not to get that light. Anybody else? I know there's more of you out there. What is the benefit to you? The benefit is to teach each other, chairs and members of my association become leaders rather than seeking out my leadership. Okay, very good. More clients from word of mouth. Yes. Clear communicating, listening, comprehension of their needs. Yes. The thing is, people, if they like you, they will listen to you more. This is the research is so basically, I'm giving the best. Oh, the Jenny, that's so beautiful. It's true. When you're anything you want to do, it goes better if you're more likable. In fact, I wasn't planning to share this, but there is this guy who's considered the father of hygiene. His name, he lived during like the Civil War. His name was Semmelweis, Ignaz Semmelweis. He was from Hungary, but he was working in Vienna as a physician delivering babies. Anyway, long story short, I won't, because I don't want to get too off track, but he found out that if physicians would wash their hands before delivering a baby, then the mom was much more likely to live. That is very patently obvious to us today. But he was not well liked. And because he was not well liked, people thought they didn't buy into his research. Even they would say things like, well, the study is just not sound, but it was. It's just that they didn't like him, so they wouldn't look at his study. So it took 20 years. So after he was gone, that the physician community caught on to, oh, yes, washing your hands is a good thing, a necessary thing for patient care. So that's a study from a long time ago. I want you to know that I like you. Because the fact that you're here shows that you and I have something in common. Like we're kind of obsessed with getting better at what we do, with being better communicators, with reaching out to people more effectively. And the thing is, when you like people, they are more likely to like you. So that's pretty cool. So that's something that we're going to go into. I love my little brainy drawings that I have. So some of the research, Columbia University study, and there's a whole body of research on positivity. So there's positivity, there's happiness, there's optimism, and there's likability. Those are just 4 constructs that are studied separately, but they are related. So according to the Columbia University study, that the people in business in jobs from corporate America, they make more money. They get more raises. They get promoted more frequently. They interview better. And then another study showed that, and this was a little bit hard for me to swallow, but according to the study that they gave objective tests, and the more likable supervisors outperformed the less likable. You know, it's another study. The more likable people, this is not good looking and making money. Likability, you got a second date. Another study, physicians would give more time and more detailed explanations to the patients that they liked more. Of course, you probably have heard that a physician is less likely to be sued if the patients like him. That's a whole nother body of research about how the perceptions of patient care. Another study, pediatricians. So the pediatricians, when they like the parent more, the child gets better health care. And in a way, it makes sense, you know. But the thing is, when you're in your day-to-day life and you've got problems and you've got things happening, like just last week, I was on my way. I had everything set up to go to this big, very important coaching with a client he's in a startup, and his company is just soaring. And we had this meeting before he was going to have a meeting, and I got a flat tire. You know, that kind of thing can throw you off. Let's see if I can. Likable patients get well faster. So is it because the doctors give the better care? It wasn't really. That correlation wasn't made, but there's all kinds of benefits to being more likable. And I showed this brainy slide. This is my brain with the dopamine hits, and the dopamine is a feel-good hormone. And whenever you post something on social media and you get likes or you get comments or somebody compliments you, you get a little dose of dopamine that just makes you feel just like 1 degree better. And likable people are skilled at giving dopamine hits. They're just good finders. And we're going to kind of break that down. I have one more brain slide. I came up with this great analogy, at least I thought it was great, that likability is like WD-40, because the thing was, another study, this is from Yale University, that likable people were more productive. And why was that? Because people listened to them, because they got less resistance, because they got less friction, so they were able to get more done. And another study, University of Michigan, the more likable people got in work would get more detailed feedback. How helpful is that, right? So that is a little summary, that's a mega summary of the research. Let me see, I got some comments on chat I want to keep up. I know that if you are a likable boss, you want to please that person and do well for him. Can likability correlate to trusting the person? Yes, it does. It does correlate. Yes, trust about oops. Yes, Sarah's got the same point of view. I also worked on developing likability because of the screw ups that I knew that I would make. And I figured out after a while that it was actually the Stephen Covey, the concept of the emotional bank account, which is if you build that relationship, then you have some cushion for when you screw up or forget to say thank you or are late, they're more likely to forgive you. All right. Okay, we're going to keep going, but please keep asking questions. And this is not meant to be a monologue. There was one more study that I wanted to mention. This is the one that really just got me going. I mean, and this was a meta study, and it was really more about happiness. It was a study of 225 other studies focusing on happiness, and the whole thesis or the hypothesis they were testing is that happiness predicts success. Success does not predict happiness. Funny, huh? But in that study, so that was what they were testing, was the relationship between happiness and success. But through those 225 studies, I was reading, just skimming, there was this theme of the extroversion and the likability, that the likable people tended to be extroverts. And that was just like, what? That's not fair. We are likable. I mean, and because I think of myself, I'm likable, or default. I'm likable when things are going my way, but like, I don't know if you've heard of resting bitch phase. That's something that my resting bitch phase is more like resting serial killer face. That's because I'm just a very thinking person. And so that kind of face is not likable. So I want you to think about somebody that you know, that you consider highly likable, and just think of a word to describe that person. I want to see what you come up with. Let's see. Genuine. Yes, that's a good one, because what I'm going to teach you, the things these tricks, they only work if they're sincere. Approachable, gregarious, honest. Anything else? I'm going to have a little assessment for you on the qualities that psychologists, not communication people. Eye contact, others focus. Yes, Giovanna, that's the real charismatic. Exactly. All right, so let's look at this assessment that I have. That you can just look at and I'll send out copies of the slides, okay? So don't feel like you have to write this down. And I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly because of the time. Okay, so positivity correlates with likability. That's kind of obvious. Not being judgy. Being open to new ideas. Oh, and I wanted to say, okay, this is not my list. This is a list from a psychology company. But to me, the slow to judge others, the open to new ideas, secure in my skin, and you don't have to be right. Like those four are, to me, are like very similar, because if you're secure in yourself, then you don't have to prove you're right, and you don't really care as much about judging others. So I considered those kind of variations on a theme of self-confidence. But what's different is that positivity, the ability to empathize, to understand what other people are going through, and to find common ground. So you think of, those are the real aspects or elements of likability that psychologists have identified. And you all know people, the people that have to be right. Oh my gosh, they are so annoying. So of course you're not going to give them detailed information or detailed feedback if you're just going to have to argue with them every time. Or if you have an employee that's going to be not open to new ideas, then you're like, well, I'm just not even going to go over that. And so that person misses out on information that could be helpful. All right. So there's two very basic foundational concepts about likability, that we like people who like us. And this is like a shortcut that I learned in my networking. So I started networking probably 5 years ago. And my first event, I got to the door. I think it was Tech After 5, which is a very large event. I knew nobody, and I just left. I saw the people, and I just was a coward and left. And I found out, though, that when I act excited to meet somebody, that shortened the time that it took for us to build a relationship. But like Amanda said, it's got to be sincere, and you have to believe that, have that positive outlook that everybody's got is somebody interesting to meet. Sometimes it's very obvious why they're interesting, and sometimes it's not. But if you have that, oh my gosh, I'm so pleased to meet you, then you're starting that relationship on a positive note, because If we meet and I see that you're happy to meet me, well, then I'm thinking, well, this is clearly a very smart person who appreciates the opportunity to get to meet me. So therefore, I'm going to be excited to meet them. So everybody wants to be liked. If you be the person first, don't wait to find out if they like you. You like first, and then it almost always reciprocates. And that's a confidence thing there. These are the miracle phrases. And again, these only work if they're sincere, because we can detect BS and manipulation, and it's so slimy. But the thing that I had been using this phrase, I was just thinking about you, because I'll be thinking about a client or somebody I've talked to, and they email me, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you, even if it was a couple days ago. And then you email, I'm so glad to hear from you. So that lets people know not only that you like them, that you remember them, and that you're important to them. But again, only if it's true, but probably it is, because you're probably interacting with the same people. Or if there's somebody you haven't heard from in a while, you can reach out and say, you know what, you came to my mind. I just wanted to check in with you. Are you doing okay? But letting people know when you think about them is a big likability booster. How about you? This is when you don't know what to say. This is for my special introvert friends. You can just say, well, how about you? I'm fine. How about you? You know, because I don't remember who pointed out in the comments that likability is really about drawing out the other person, not showing how grand and glorious you are. Another thing to tell people, if you find it true, and if you look for it, you will find it true, that you are so interesting. You're so interesting to talk to. It's been really interesting getting to know you. I mean, how cool is that? And then this is last phrase. Now this is a more high level likability, but if you can remember what you talked about last time, like maybe they were going to go on a vacation, or maybe their kid was trying out for cheerleader or some sport. If you can bring that back, you're showing the person that you care about them, that you notice them, that you remember them, and that raises, they like you more because they feel valued by you, right? So these are what I call the miracle phrases, but of course they have to be true, but I think they are. It's just that, like, you can be thinking about somebody, but just not mention it because you think, oh, that sounds so dumb. No. That's a fear speaking. Be brave enough to show the liking first. And then the second fundamental thing about likability is that we like people who are like us in some way, and it doesn't have to be physical. Interest, the fact that you're at the same event is going to show that you have something in common. If you have the same profession, you have something in common. If you are the same restaurant, you probably have something in common. But being on the lookout for things in common and commenting on them, like if you find out that somebody reads the same website as you, say, oh my God, I read that too. You know, comment, we have this in common. Oh, you have 2 kids? I have 3. Well, how old are your kids? You know, finding those commonalities. And I know that's a little bit obvious. It may seem obvious, but people don't comment on it enough. But the foundation of likability is that we like people who like us, and we like people who are like us. Now I'm going to go in, that's my low-hanging fruit, and those are my magical phrases that you can go out and use right after this webinar. You can even write me an email and say that you were just thinking about me. And I'm going to go into this framework that I developed as a more solid, it's a more deeper structural way of looking at likability and teaching it maybe to the people that you've worked with. So before I go on, I want to know if there's any questions. Let's see. Any questions? It's about trust. Listening, yes. Listening is a very good likability skill. All right, I'm gonna give you just a second. And again, you're going to get these slides. You're going to love this framework, I think. I think it's very cool. I worked on it a lot, and so we're going to go back to that. All right. Oh yeah, I just put this in because I didn't want it to seem like a popularity contest, like, oh, am I more likable than you? And one of you commented on this in the very beginning. It's about going above and beyond, because you can't really help people if they don't like you. You can't teach them if they don't like you. You can't be guiding them if they don't like you. And of course, you can't control how other people think. But anyway, I just wanted to put likability, my whole company is not about manipulating people. It's about reaching people and connecting and having an impact. So this is the framework, which I'm going to go through real quickly, the 5 foundations, and then give you an example of each one. And this is from, and I know not everybody on this is an introvert, but this is from the introvert's point of view, which is, an introvert is not that we don't like people, but we have less energy, like social situations drain us. So we have to budget our energy and budget our interaction. So from an introvert point of view, this is about maximizing each interaction. So the first one is to elevate your touch points. That's maximizing every interaction, because you don't want to be talking to somebody for 2 hours if you can only talk for 1. Robust positivity. That's increasing your optimism, because of course, if you're more positive, you're more likable, and it's harder to be positive. Yes. Hyper curiosity. That's about getting off the default conversations. Your arsenal of allies is like building up your team, your support base, your social capital, one-on-one. And then my favorite, of course, whimsical words, using words that are not the overused words of all that everybody uses. I see somebody had a question here, a comment. Okay, yes, Amanda had to leave. Well, what to do? All right, so let's look at these one by one. Okay, elevate the touch points. So you want every conversation and every interaction. I mean, it's not that it's not like you're turning it into a life or death situation, but can you elevate it? Can you just show a little bit more appreciation? Work harder on finding the common ground, or just making it better. Like your email, could you make it more friendly? Could you like adding a greeting, or changing like, I hope you have a fabulous week, or I look forward to seeing you again. Can you just like upgrade every interaction? And I found, of course, I was goofing off. I don't need to be shopping at Ralph Lauren, but sometimes when I'm stuck, I go to websites like this one. And this to me was a perfect example of elevating something ordinary. So the polo shirt is a very basic garment. It's a shirt, with a collar, but to make it out of cashmere. So that's exactly the idea I have in elevate your touch points, just making that email like funnier or more engaging, or just, a little bit more entertaining to read. Or if you can't be entertaining, can you make it shorter? Can you make it easier for me to make a decision based on your email? So that's upgrading the quality of every interaction you have with people. So we have here the ordinary things that we say are, good job, good work, take care. But these are opportunities you can use your miracle phrases that, if you have to contact somebody about them, give them a little introduction to, how you were just thinking about them. Or if you hear from somebody unexpectedly, what a delight to hear from you. I'm so happy to hear from you. Oh, on the phone, I love to tell people, and it's true, I like to hear people's voices, because we do so much by text and by email that we don't hear each other's voices. So when you get to talk to somebody and you haven't talked to in a while, it is nice to hear their voice, isn't it? So telling them that, what a warm thing to hear, that somebody enjoys hearing your voice. Or of course, sharing that you were so impressed by some little something. Like one thing that really impresses me about some people that I think they always get, maybe I come across as creepy when I tell them this, but like people who have really good handwriting, I just think that is so cool. My handwriting is bad, and I have, bought calligraphy pens, but it's still bad. So that's something that when I see somebody has really nice handwriting, I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, all right. So second point, robust positivity. You've got to look for the opportunity. You've got to expect good outcomes. Being positive is not easy. And in fact, being optimistic is going to be my next webinar next month, because that was one of the topics that came out of my customer survey. So be the more positive person, the one, and you know what, that correlates with confidence, because you have to have confidence that a solution can be found. What more positivity means, when you really break it down and in your interactions with others, it doesn't mean you're delusional, although you can be. But when you're positive, that means you value other people for specific things and they know you value them. Positivity means that you see possibility, that it could turn out better. It could even, so many things turn out better than we think they can if we stick to it long enough and don't give up. Recognize what people are doing right. That is something that leaders tend to overlook because we're so focused on the problems. But a positive, likable person is going to always be cognizant and noticing what people are doing right. In fact, Zig Ziglar used to say, be a good finder and look for what's good or possible, even if it's highly improbable, because highly improbable things happen all the time. And if you just point people in this direction of this highly improbable event, you're already increasing the chances that we reach that event. All right, number 3, hypercuriosity. Hypercuriosity is also with my introvert friends of mine. We hate talking about ourselves, hate that. So hypercuriosity gets us off the hook, keeps the conversation going, and it gets you off the conversation default of, hey, how are you? Fine, how are you? So what are you up to? No, it's, hey, I ask something like, that's an interesting shirt. Where did you get it? Or have you been, something, what are you reading these days? What's the best thing that's happened to you this week? How is your family doing? Just a hyper curiosity about the other people. And there's even research, a Harvard study I found of over 300 conversations said that the best conversationalists are the ones that ask questions, and the best questions are follow-up to what you've already said. So, and if you can't think of a question, here's another magical phrase that's not on the slides. It's called, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Really, tell me more. Or, just ask a follow-up question. Oh, did you see that I went to this game and this happened? Ask a question about it. Ask a follow-up question. And another thing that came out of this study is that certain professions the people are better at asking questions, and attorneys are in that category, journalists are in that category, and I have a communications degree. So there are some vocations and employment categories where you have more practice asking questions. So if you're not good at asking questions, that's a skill you can, a micro skill you can develop. Your arsenal of allies, some people would call that your network, but by working on not just getting to know people, but following up, getting to know them better, sending them notes, meeting with them one-on-one, having lunches. One thing I do is I have lunch. I just invite some random friends for lunch every month. I got invited to somebody else's lunch of random people. It's a lot of fun. Some of you have seen my use of video. I think video is definitely a likable communication medium because you get to smile and show yourself from the privacy of your own office, being unexpected. And I just encourage everyone, If you work in sales, of course, you have a customer relationship management system, a CRM. I have an Excel spreadsheet, but I suggest that everybody have a system for keeping up with their people. And the last thing is whimsical words. Yes, don't use the blah, same. Like, I've tried to stop saying great, amazing, and awesome. Instead, I say things, and if you read my newsletter, you see this. Phenomenal, delightful, astonishing. Oh, this word isn't up there, but one of my new favorite words is avalanche. Like, I'm in an avalanche of work or an avalanche of good things. Staggering is a great word. Zingy and zippy. Balderdash. I'm looking for a chance to use that one. And you don't have to, it's not like every word has to be like off the charts, but use like 1 or 2 words instead of 1 or 2 of these ordinary words. And that's a dose of dopamine. It's like, oh my gosh, he said, have a splendid day instead of have a nice day. So those are that's my framework here. So it's really about constructing a communication apparatus or mechanism for communicating positivity and likability by elevating every interaction, by always seeking to be more positive, more curious, keeping track of your allies, and then throw in some different words now and then. So there's a lot of things that I've given you, and I'm going to go to questions, but I don't want, and also I'm going to tell you just a teeny bit about a coaching program I have if anybody is interested in that. But don't try to do 10 things. Just pick 3 and just keep doing them over and over and over and over and over again. Let's go to see if anybody has questions. Anybody got questions? You can ask questions in the chat. Love the word, need to update my brain. Keep a style file. That was in the, that was on the little slide. I have a file. I don't have it with me, but, and I have these journals that are also like agendas, which are also like schedules. And in the back of each one, when I read a funny word, like when I heard somebody say that their resting bitch phase was resting serial killer phase. I'm like, I'm totally stealing that, which I did. I love that. Or if I see the word zippy or, I don't know. If you hear a cute phrase or a clever phrase, just write it down because you probably won't remember. And then when you're writing them for the email, you pull it in, and then that just upgrades your whole communication and your likability. All right, no questions. We have just a couple minutes. I'm going to tell you that if you want to work one-on-one with me, you can. Course, I love my private coaching clients, and you can also email me after this if you have a question. Likable Leader Private Coaching is a very intense, just 5 calls through October. We do a communication style assessment. I forgot to put it, but we also do a strengths assessment. You also get a goodie box, and that gift box is all things from Southern brands like King Bean Coffee. The owner of that's a friend of mine, and it's $13.97. Of course, that is professional development, so you might get your company to pay for it, or you can write it off your taxes as an unreimbursed business expense. And as you know, as I've told you, I'm not the salesperson, but I want you to know that that's available. I enjoy working with my private clients very much, and they're all super smart. All right. No questions. Well, thank you so much for coming. This is great. I enjoy getting to share my findings. Anytime I do a new topic, this was a new material for me, even though I've touched on likability. I always teach it in my when I teach leader communication, I teach the emotional bank account, concept, but this is like a really deep dive into likability. But you know, more likable, more money. Let's see what we've got here. Enjoy the webinars back. Oh, I'm likable. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you guys, I'm so excited. All right, guys, thank you. I'm gonna turn it off. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Oh, there's one more comment. Thank you. I have a networking event. Oh, yes, yes. Do report back. Let me know, especially if you see somebody that you want to catch up with, or that you know, see how you can use the I was thinking about you. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. All right. See you later. Bye-bye. I'll be sending the recording and the slides out. All right. Take care.